This is the tool disorganization I've been dealing with for several years. Today, I'm gonna get organized. I got a new bag, I got some new tools, I got rid of some old tools, and so I'm gonna share with you what I take with me out on the trail to do some repairs. Stay tuned. Welcome to TrailRecon, I'm Brad, and I get questions from folks like you all the time about what should you carry with you when you go hit the trail. And I think it's very important to make sure you have plenty of safety equipment, first aid box and fire extinguisher, and you've also got to have some recovery gear so you can get yourself out of a sticky situation. But it's also very important to have some good basic tools so you can do some repairs when you're out on the trail. Now, I have some new tools, I've gotten rid of some old stuff, I've added a few new things that I know I need, and I got a new tool bag and just got more organized. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you what I'm taking with me when I hit the trail and kind of why I have things and why they're laid out the way they are. I think you're going to find this very informative. Before we get started, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, which is Tecton Tools. They are a family-owned company up in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and for many years they have been placing a big emphasis on the design and the engineering of tools, and they're making a great product. I will leave a link down below, guys. Go over to their website, check out their stuff. It's great, great tools. I've also put together a little section in my Amazon store where you'll find tools and knickknacks and all kinds of other stuff that you'll see here in the video today, because you may see a couple things that you'll find interesting. Now, why don't I go ahead and clear off the table and let's open up this bag. So this is the old bag that I've had for several years, and honestly, this is better suited for somebody that's doing construction work that needs to carry around, hammers and nail guns and all that kind of stuff. For a trail tool bag, it just doesn't work really well. It's just a big, empty black hole of tools, and so finding things in here has always just been a challenge. But I will say, I think it's important in your off-road vehicle to carry a bag and not a box. I think it's a safety issue. I mean, you should always make sure that your stuff is secured down. But things get loose in a rollover or an accident, and the last thing you want is some metal steel toolbox rolling around in your vehicle. That can be very dangerous. So I highly recommend a bag, but not this one. Let's take a look at the one that I do recommend. This bag here I recently got. This is the Blue Ridge Overland bag. It's a tool bag. I love the slim design of this. This is going to be able to store in some of those narrow spaces in the backside of my Jeep, and I'm really happy about that. It's got some good nylon fabric on here. It's got some sturdy handles, got some little tabs here for the zippers. On the front, it's got some MOLLE webbing so you can attach some stuff to it. And on the back here, there's a little pocket, and I've just thrown in some work gloves, because usually when I'm out on the trail, that's probably the first thing that I'm going to grab if I'm going to do a repair or a recovery situation. So I've got some good work gloves in there. But man, you open this bad boy up, and look how organized this is. It's so nice. There are 6 individual pouches in here, and each one of them has a vinyl clear front on it, and these all can be pulled out individually. So if there's just one thing that you want to grab, and head down the trail and help somebody out with, you can do that, which is really nice. You don't have to take the whole thing. This is definitely more organized than my old bag. All right, let's go ahead and open each one of these individual pouches, and I'll show you everything I've got in there and kind of explain to you why I'm carrying these tools. In the first pouch here, I've got some of the essentials. Just some flathead and Phillips screwdrivers. You got to have a couple different, long ones, thin ones, and a couple stubbies. And the reason I got them in the first pouch here is because that's something you're going to grab almost all the time. It's great to have some good screwdrivers, and I like these little ergonomic grips they've got here. Plus, on the ends here, these are the same coating you will find on firearms. This black coating is not going to flake off. It's really well designed. Then I've got several hex keys, and I really like these because they're in these nice little organizers. I can tell you, in my old bag, I had just a Ziploc bag full of a bunch of these, and so finding the right size was, it was a nightmare. And this is so much nicer. I should have done this a long, long time ago. And then also in here, I've just got a little cutting blade. I don't know if you need a box knife, but something I just find myself using often. I do carry a knife in the Jeep, but it's not a bad idea to have one of these as well. So that is bag number 1. In the second bag here, I have got a very nice organizer for my combination wrenches. And I love this thing. You know, before I just had a ton of combination wrenches just thrown in the bottom of my bag, and I was always digging and digging and digging to find the right one I need. Now I open this thing up and I can see exactly what I have, all the way from 8mm to 22mm. And I really like these. You know, they are not the ratcheting style, and you know, I do like the ratcheting style, but when you're off-road, sometimes, you know, you need that little extra bit of thinness just to get in the right spot. And I think instead of carrying, you know, the ratcheting style and these, I think you can just carry these and just do it the old-fashioned way. I think it's important to make sure that you spend a little bit of time underneath your vehicle and figure out what bolt sizes you have under there. That way you know you have the right ones with you. I can tell you, for me, an experience several years ago is I had a shock mount come loose and I did not have the right wrench for that. I had a bunch of wrenches, but I didn't have the right size. So lesson learned for me is I spent a ton of time just going under there and checking all the bolt sizes to make sure that I have what I need. You know, that's one of the benefits of working on your own vehicle, is you get familiar with everything that you have under there and what size things are, and it just gets you a good idea of how things go together and come apart. So if you do have to repair something on the trail, you're able to do that. But I'm pretty happy with this combination set. I'm only carrying metric because that's really all I have on my Jeep. Now I do have some standard ratchet drivers and sockets, but I'll talk about that here in a little bit. But for the combination wrenches, I'm just using your standard old metric ones. And I really like this roll. I should have done this a long time ago as well. All right, let me set some of this stuff aside and let's open bag number 3. Now bag number 3 is a lot of good stuff in here. And let me start with pliers, because I think that's something that everybody should carry. I've got your adjustable plier here, which is good. You can get a good grip on there, nice long handle. I've got some cutting pliers and then some needle nose. And I don't know why, but it seems like I use long nose, needle nose pliers more than I do just about any other plier out there. I've also got some shears in here because that's one of the tools that's used most often in my garage, and I always find a need for it when I'm out on the trail. Because you know, when you're repairing your vehicle, sometimes it's not a vehicle that needs to be repaired. Maybe it could be something that's, you know, rooftop tent or some kind of storage unit in the back, or your lights or something, or a roof rack or whatever. You never know when you might need some shears. I've got some long nose vice grips, and I like these just because it allows you to get really small into something if you really need to clamp down. The standard vice grips are nice, but I think if you're only going to carry one, I don't know, I kind of like these better. I have a small C-clamp so I can really kind of vice down onto something if I need to. That's kind of handy. A standard adjustable wrench. I don't know why when I was a kid my dad used to call these monkey wrenches, and so that's always stuck with me, but it is an adjustable wrench. This is a 250mm, good standard size. It's not a bad idea to carry a small one, but I don't have one. And then I have this little guy, which is really nice. This is a hand hacksaw, and this thing can come in really handy if you need to cut something down. I mean, look, we're banging our vehicles on rocks and tearing them up. You know, there may be something that breaks loose and you've got to cut it off, and being able to have a little hand hacksaw could really kind of help you out quite a bit. And I like this thing because it's not some big long saw. It folds down really nice. I've also got a metal file, which can come in use quite a bit. And I've got a chisel, because you never know when, you know, you might strip a bolt and you got to, you know, bang it out, or you got to bust something off. Having a small chisel like this can be very, very, very valuable. Okay, let me clear this off and then let's take a look at the other side. All right, there are two things that are kind of loosely hanging in the bag. They're not in the pockets, and one is a 16-ounce ball peen hammer, and you know as well as I do, a hammer can fix just about anything. Having a good ball peen hammer is the way to go, and this one fits nicely in the bag. It just doesn't fit in one of the pockets, so that's why it's kind of just laying out here, but that works really well for me. And I've got one other thing here that's hanging loose outside of these bags, but we'll get to that here in a second. In this next bag, I have an assortment of sockets and ratchets. And I have mostly 3/8 inch ratchets and sockets because that's what I use the most, although this big boy is a 1/2 inch. The reason I have mostly 3/8 is because that's usually what I grab in my toolbox when I'm in my garage, and I just don't see a need for 1/4 inch. I don't think you need that when you're out on the trail. Having the 1/2 inch compared to the 3" can really help you, get some good leverage on something. So that's why I do carry that. But I have this little Tecton kit right here, which has got metric and standard. And while this is not in my tool bag, this is so much more organized than I was before, because before I just had a ton of sockets all over the bag and I was just going and finding one. It was just a nightmare. So carrying this tucks in well anywhere under the seat or in the side of a compartment somewhere is perfect. In here I've got a 3/8 driver. I've got an adjustable flex head. I've got some extensions. Works really nice from 8mm all the way to 19mm. But then I have the 1/2 inch ones, which goes all the way up to 24. And then in the bag, I've got this big boy, which is the 36mm. And if you need to pull an axle or something like that, you're gonna need this one. So I don't carry a lot of large ones, but this is one that I know I personally need. I've also got some step ups and steps downs for the ratchets. But look, this is so much organized. I mean, on these rails right here in the bag, that just works. And then having this case just to open it up and find what I need. This thing is a godsend. I can't tell you how frustrated I would get looking for the right size socket. Now I can just pull this out, open it up, and that does compact really well and closes up really nice. Now, I gotta say, I love these little flex heads here. Those things are extremely useful if you need to get in a tight spot. So having a couple of those is really handy. So that's what I've got in. Am I missing anything? Nope. That's it for drivers and sockets. Okay, let's get into bag number 5. Let me move this stuff aside here for a second, guys. Okay. Got all kinds of goodies in this one. Some goggles, because yes, you even need to be safe out on the trail. I've got a wire brush. You can 101 uses for that. I've got a Sharpie because marking something when you're trying to cut something or align something can be very helpful. These right here are some Colby emergency tire valves. And I can tell you, after a trip that we took where somebody broke a tire valve, being able to replace a tire valve right there on the trail instead of having to swap a tire when it's raining and muddy and cold can really be very nice. These are really easy to use and they're very cheap, and so that's why I carry those in there. I've got some electrical wire, and then this little guy right here, it's actually a Plano tackle box, but in here I've got some fuses and I've got some wire connectors. Just to be able to, do some electrical stuff when I'm out on the trail. Honestly, the fuses, it seems like I always am out and somebody says, hey, anybody got a fuse? I always got one. I've never needed one for me, but I always have one if somebody needs one. I do have this little tape measure. It's a cloth tape measure. I don't carry a big old bulky tape measure. I don't really find a need to measure stuff, but just in case I do, if I needed to measure a bolt or something like that, there's that. And then there is this guy, and this is just an assortment of bolts and screws and nuts, because you never know when something's going to break or come up missing and you're going to need to replace it. Now, to what extreme do you carry extra bolts and washers and nuts and screws? Well, that's up to you. I just carry a variety of a few of them. Thankfully, when I was out on the trail recently, I lost a sway bar link bolt. It just disappeared. Marco had what I needed, and so I decided, you know what, I'm going to make sure that I carry one of those with me in the future. So that is it in bag number 5, and we are now down to bag number 6, guys. But we're not done. There's still a couple other things that I carry for repairs, which we'll talk about after this one. Now, this bag here is really kind of the fix-it and glue bag, I would call it. I've got some baling wire, which is invaluable stuff. You can use this for 1,000,001 things. So having some baling wire that you can wrap around and secure something, really nice. If you got some vice grips and baling wire, you can really tighten this stuff down really well. I've got some electrical tape, and I've got some Gorilla tape. And I like the Gorilla tape in this little 1-inch design because it's just more compact than carrying the bulky 3-inch like duct tape or whatever. You can just wrap this for days and days. It's like duct tape, but it's just thinner. And it fits well in the bag. I've got a whole assortment of hose clamps and cotter pins because you never know when you're going to need those. I do have some black nitrile rubber gloves because even out on the trail, it's nice to keep your hands clean. I've got some quick steel, which is, mash this putty together and you can plug holes in gas tanks or temporarily fill, little bits of steel. This stuff isn't the strongest that I've used in the past, but it is nice to have. I'm not going to pull it out of there because I don't want to dry it out, but yeah, this stuff is pretty good to have. I've got some blue Loctite, so if there's a bolt that it doesn't want to stay while you're out on the trail and you're on those washboard roads, you can throw a little blue Loctite on there and that will help secure that. I've also got a little bit of RTV gasket sealer. I love how small this is. I don't have some big tube of RTV. And then I've just got some outdoor adhesive. It's basically like super glue. This is more for interior stuff if I was going to fix something like plastic or whatever. There you go, guys. That's what's in the tool bag, but I'm not done. There's a couple other things that I want to show you that have to do with repairs out on the trail. Boy, it sure seems like I have a lot of stuff, but honestly, I use just about everything that I've shown you so far. Now, in this little package right here, I've got a MicroStart XP10. This is a jump starter battery, and now there's a bunch of these out on the market, and I've had this one for, I don't know, maybe 1.5 years or so, and it works really well. You can plug it out here, and then you can jump start your car, and I have used this on the boys' Jeeps a lot, because they like to leave the radio on or the lights on and we need to go jump start it. And it's really handy to have because you don't have to go nose to nose with two vehicles with jumper cables. You just hook this right up to the battery, press a button, and you can actually jump start the car. It's also got a couple little USB ports on here so you can charge your phone or whatever. It's pretty handy to have one of these. There's some good reviews, some bad reviews. I'm just telling you that this one has been working for me. Also in here, I've got a multimeter. I'm dropping stuff here, hang on. I've got a multimeter, and I don't claim to be any kind of electrical expert, but I like having a multimeter so I can, test for power and I can test for amp draws. Everything else in here, well, you need to open the manual and figure that out, but having one of these can be invaluable so you can check a circuit. So that's why I carry one of these, and it just happens to fit really well in this nice little case there. All right. This guy right here is just a standard black plastic ammo can, and I've got a few rags in here, and then I've got a ratchet strap and a bungee cord. Obviously there are lots of uses for bungee cord, but let me just tell you about the ratchet strap for a second. We were out on the trail and one of the guy's track bars broke, and with a ratchet strap and some baling wire, we were able to tighten things down enough for him to drive safely a couple miles off the trail, and then he was able to call a tow truck. So there are a lot of uses for a ratchet strap. Fixing your steering could potentially be one of them. This one is something that everybody should have, and they should know how to use it, and you should know how to open it as well. There we go, Velcro on there. This is the Power Tank tire repair kit. Tire repair kit is essential to have, especially if you're long distance and maybe you've already got a flat and so now you're down to you don't have a spare anymore. Having one of these and knowing how to use one of these is very invaluable. I've also got some more workman's gloves in here, and then inside here is something that is new to me, and that is a 6-ton bottle jack, and this is from the folks over at Safe Jack. And now look, they are not a sponsor. I actually won this in a raffle when I was out at the Desert Rendezvous a few weeks ago, and it's something I've really been wanting anyway, so it was awesome that I won this. But what's really cool about this is it's 6 tons, so very strong, but it's got these extensions, so you can, get up really high. It's got something to hold the axle on there. They've got a whole lot of other extensions. They got a big handle, a little base plate. I just kind of put this pieces in here because I think this is really all I need. I'll find out here in the future next time I got to change a tire. But having a bottle jack is pretty handy, so I like that. And that's it. There's no more, guys. I'm gonna leave a couple of videos right here that I think you'll enjoy. If you enjoyed this one, go check those out. And I'd like to hear from you in the comments below. What am I missing? What would you like to see me add to my toolkit? If you're visiting TrailRecon for the first time, hit that subscribe button. I'd love to have you as a member of the TrailRecon team. Please remember to travel the trails responsibly. Thanks for watching.